The quiet collapse of financial authority. It didn't fall in a crisis. It didn't shatter in a single decision. Authority didn't disappear. It faded slowly and almost politely until one day no one could remember exactly when it stopped working. For generations, financial authority meant something concrete. Rules were issued. Oversight was enforced. Decisions carried weight because someone, somewhere, had the recognized power to make them stick. In London, authority was embedded in institutions, offices, and long-established structures that signal control. To understand why this collapse mattered, we have to return to a moment when authority began losing friction. Markets moved faster than enforcement. Innovation outpaced regulation. Coordination formed before approval. Authority was still present, but it arrived after the fact. At first, this delay seemed manageable. Institutions adapted. Guidance was updated. Frameworks expanded. Authority tried to keep up by becoming more detailed, more comprehensive, more precise. But precision did not restore timing. By the time rules responded, behavior had already shifted. The reveal came when authority stopped shaping outcomes and started explaining them instead. Oversight reports described events rather than preventing them. Interventions clarified what had happened rather than steering what would. Authority became retrospective. Participants noticed quickly. They stopped asking what rules allowed and started asking what enforcement could realistically stop. The gap between permission and consequence widened. Authority still spoke, but markets learned when they could safely ignore it. This erosion was subtle because nothing visibly broke. Institutions remained intact. Titles retained prestige. Processes continued. But influence no longer flowed from authority by default. It had to be earned repeatedly, and often failed to arrive in time. London began operating in a system where authority existed everywhere in theory, yet nowhere decisively in practice. And once authority lost its ability to arrive before outcomes formed, its collapse became inevitable, not through rebellion, but through irrelevance. As authority weakened, London's financial system began reorganizing itself around a quiet assumption. Rules still mattered, but only after outcomes were known. Compliance followed behavior instead of guiding it. Authority had slipped from proactive to reactive. This shift changed incentives immediately. Participants stopped designing actions around permission and started designing them around tolerance. The question was no longer whether something was allowed, but whether it would be challenged and how long that challenge might take. Authority became a delay, not a barrier. Institutions felt the loss of leverage. Enforcement lagged behind innovation. New structures appeared faster than rules could define them. Each response addressed yesterday's problem, while today's behavior had already moved on. Authority chased complexity without ever catching it. The danger emerged when oversight began reinforcing this pattern unintentionally. Detailed guidance created loopholes. Precision invited optimization. The more authority tried to specify behavior, the easier it became to route around it. Control fractured into technicalities. Inside the city, confidence in governance quietly eroded, not because regulators failed, but because timing failed them. Authority arrived too late to matter, too early to adapt. Participants complied formally while ignoring the spirit. Rules were followed, but outcomes drifted. This created a paradox. Authority was more visible than ever. Reports, statements, frameworks, but less effective. Power no longer needed to confront it directly. It simply moved faster. London was learning a hard lesson. Authority that cannot arrive before behavior forms becomes symbolic. And symbolic authority cannot stabilize systems built on speed and coordination. The collapse was not dramatic. It was procedural. And once authority became a formality rather than a force, the city would have to confront what replaced it. The conflict became visible when authority was tested under pressure and failed without resistance. A sequence of rapid developments unfolded across markets, each individually compliant, collectively destabilizing. No rule was broken, no instruction ignored, yet the outcome threatened the system itself. Institutions responded as designed. Reviews were launched. Statements were issued. consultations announced. But these actions moved at procedural speed, while markets adjusted in real time. Authorities spoke carefully. Markets listened briefly, then moved on. Participants grew bolder. They learned the boundaries not from rules, but from reaction time. If authority could not respond quickly, it could not deter. Compliance became strategic. Legitimacy was weighed against advantage. Authority became something to manage, not respect. Inside London, frustration mounted. Officials understood the danger, but lacked tools calibrated for velocity. Acting faster risked overreach. Acting slower guaranteed irrelevance. Authority was trapped between precision and pace, unable to reconcile the two. The breaking moment arrived when a coordinated behavior exploited this gap perfectly. Activity surged through every permissible channel simultaneously. Oversight detected the pattern only after impact. Intervention came, but it arrived as explanation, not prevention. Public confidence cracked. If authority could not anticipate systemic risk, what was its role? Trust weakened not because power was abused, but because it was uncontained. Authority appeared present, articulate, and well-intentioned, yet ineffective. London confronted a sobering truth. Authority had not been overthrown. It had been outpaced. And a system that moves faster than its governors will always drift toward instability, regardless of intent. The city now stood at a defining moment. Either authority would be redesigned for speed and adaptability, or would continue dissolving into background noise. The resolution did not come from restoring authority as it once existed. London accepted that the old model, slow, centralized, and reactive, could not be repaired. Instead, authority was reshaped to move with the system rather than chase it. Oversight shifted from rulemaking to pattern recognition. Instead of prescribing every action, institutions focused on detecting dangerous alignment early. Authority became anticipatory rather than corrective. It acted on signals of risk before outcomes hardened. This transformation changed the nature of power. Authority no longer tried to control behavior directly. It influenced incentives, timing, and expectations. Intervention became lighter, earlier, and more adaptive. The goal was not to stop movement, but to guide it away from systemic harm. London's role evolved accordingly. The city became a laboratory for governance that traveled. Standards were designed to operate across networks. Accountability followed flows, not forms. Authority regained relevance not by being louder, but by being faster and more precise. The lesson endured. In systems defined by speed and coordination, authority cannot arrive after the fact. It must anticipate, align, and adapt continuously. Control gives way to stewardship. London did not reclaim the power it lost. It discovered a form of authority that could survive without it. Subscribe to join the journey. The